Legends of giant boars have circulated among us for centuries, reimagined in their own way in every country. Their impressive images inspire awe and respect, coming to life in tales and sometimes even in reality. Take a look at European folklore. Medieval knights, intimidated by the ferocity of wild boars, battle them for honor and bravery. In the East, ancient tales of demon boars only emphasize the mystery of their strength and cunning. But sometimes we need more than just fearful stories told around the campfire. In 2007, the world was stunned when an Alabama hunter, James Stone, shot what would later be called the Grunder swine. This boar, weighing over 2,200 pounds, breathed new life into legends, making us believe that the line between myth and reality is thinner than it seems. While the average wild boar weighs around 500 to 700 pounds, nature sometimes surprises us with true giants. This is where genetics and environmental factors come into play. Occasionally, wild and domestic pigs interbreed, producing hybrids of impressive size. Such animals not only forge their own paths through the forest, but also highlight the balance of the ecosystem, where even the largest and most powerful creature has its place. And of course, the very question of their existence fills the hearts of researchers with a desire to learn more. The mysterious forest may still conceal many secrets, where enormous boars live their lives hidden from human eyes, eluding cameras and records, making us forever wonder and marvel at what else we might discover in the depths of nature. One of these myths may soon come to life. The forests are full of mysteries, and the legends of giant boars passed down through the centuries confirm this. In the countries of Central Europe, including the Czech Republic, tales of boars guarding forest treasures have become deeply woven into traditional folk stories. Their image embodies the grandeur and enigma of the forest, serving as a powerful symbol of popular imagination. Not all forests have shed their ancient aura. One of the most famous myths is found in Belgium and France, the legend of Saint Hubert, the patron saint of hunters. It is said that a giant boar appeared to him, crowned with a shining cross. This image symbolized divine intervention, guiding hunters toward a path of spiritual enlightenment. Although medieval knights rarely encountered such boars themselves, legends like these inspired and amazed them with their mystical significance. Today, myths are not lost to time, but are enriched within the space of the internet. Here, they shimmer into digital reality, transforming into a new form of mass folklore. Stories that were once whispered around campfires now come alive in posts and lively discussions on forums. Modern technology shapes urban legends that serve as a bridge between centuries long past and the present. It is worth pondering what other mysteries are hidden in these forests and how ancient tales can continue to inspire us. Perhaps in the future, we will once again encounter ancient beliefs that have taken on a new face, preserving the connection between the myths of the past and the present, leaving us anticipating new discoveries and new boars of legend. In the heart of the forests, there are animals hidden that can amaze with their size. Although wild boars can indeed be impressive, the label of giant is not applied very often. These rarely encountered individuals can be the cause of the most astonishing encounters. Take, for example, the story of a man who was hunting in the forests of Alaska. He recalled how, once, while walking along a trail at sunset, he saw in the distance the silhouette of a boar of impressive size, peacefully foraging for food. Despite its imposing appearance, the boar seemed completely indifferent to the presence of the man, continuing to enjoy its evening feeding ritual. These are strong and incredibly resilient animals, preferring to avoid danger thanks to their sense of smell and hearing, as well as their nocturnal lifestyle, which helps them slip through the forest in search of food. Important aspects of their behavior are related to territorial defense. Boars rarely attack first. However, if they feel threatened, especially when it comes to a female with piglets, they can become aggressive in protecting their offspring. This characteristic of these animals is both surprising and a reason to treat them with due respect. Frequent stories from hunters and travelers have become a kind of legacy about how important the balance between humans and nature is. Many more amazing encounters may await those who choose to set out on the path of forest explorers, whose eyes are just now being drawn to the impressive power of this unusual inhabitant of the forest thicket. In the world of hunting, there are stories that are timeless. Among them, special attention is given to the giant wild boars taken down by brave hunters in different corners of the world. One of the most famous cases occurred in 2007 in Alabama. The encounter with a boar known as Hogzilla became a legend. This beast weighed over 1,000 pounds and measured nearly 9 feet in length, which shocked the world and set a new record. Then there were stories from Turkey, where incredibly large wild boars are also found in the densely snow-covered forests. These animals, sometimes reaching weights of around 900 pounds, impress hunters with how they manage to combine stealth and strength, reaching incredible speeds to escape any threat. Russian forests are not far behind either. It is here that hunters have repeatedly encountered powerful wild boars, whose strength and instinctive behavior make them worthy opponents. These encounters are often accompanied by stories of tense anticipation, exquisite precision, and split-second decisions that are necessary to emerge victorious in a duel with such a giant. These stories are impressive for the courage that hunters must possess to confront such powerful creatures. They serve as a reminder that nature is full of mysteries and that someone's feats can become part of the ongoing tale of the grandeur and dangers hidden within the forest expanses. Where else might such giant creatures be hiding, inspiring the search for and discovery of new astonishing phenomena? Let's begin with a story that shocked the hunting world. Of course, we're talking about the famous Hogzilla from Alabama. The initially reported length of this giant was a colossal 3 meters and 70 centimeters. However, later, after thorough research, it turned out that the actual length was closer to 3 meters and the weight was just over 300 kilograms. This does not diminish its significance. After all, Hogzilla was a hybrid of a wild boar and a domestic pig, and its size far exceeded the average parameters of a wild boar. Individuals of such size are rare in nature, but their impact on our perception and imagination is incredible. This raises the question of where we should expect new record breakers to appear. There are other known cases today, but there are no specific data or sources in open archives confirming the existence of such giants in places like Brazil or Australia. Hogzilla showed that nature never ceases to amaze, and that incredible discoveries are still hidden in the depths of its resources. Are other giants among us possible? When will such a giant appear again in the future and astonish the world? It's hard to predict, but perhaps a new record holder is already wandering somewhere in the shady corners of the forest, waiting for its moment to become a legend. It's hard to believe, but in prehistoric times, the Earth was inhabited by real giants, entelodont pigs which weighed almost half a ton and disappeared about 30 million years ago. Meanwhile, the image of the gigantic boar has firmly taken root in myths and legends across all continents, from northern tales to eastern folklore. In Scandinavian mythology, every evening the heavenly palace of Valhalla holds a feast featuring the enormous boar Saehrimnir. This legendary beast is resurrected each day to feed the warriors who reside there. In ancient Greece and Rome, the boar symbolized indomitable strength. Its image adorned armor, and hunting the wild boar served as a trial for the bravest heroes. However, the boar never became a direct embodiment of a war deity. In the East, the boar was regarded as a symbol of fertility and passion, and only occasionally was it associated with demonic entities. Indo-Iranian legends tell of heroes battling demonic boars that embody chaos, but in other cultures they are more often seen as protectors and guardians. Historically, there is no evidence of special priests dedicated to hunting these forest titans. In ancient Roman chronicles, the Vestals were famous as keepers of the fire, not as boar hunters. Thus, many elements of these stories are exaggerations and myths, serving primarily to illustrate the power and mystical force of nature. Our perception of giant boars has been shaped by such legends and a deep respect for their historical counterparts. They continue to captivate us and inspire us to explore the mysteries of nature, remaining an immortal part of our stories and legends. Science offers a deeper perspective on the phenomenon of giant boars, showing that the size of these animals depends on a whole range of factors. Nature truly amazes us when we encounter boars known for their record-breaking size. But it's not just a matter of strength or a gigantism gene. In the world of pigs, size varies naturally, and maximum growth is often determined by both genetics and habitat. Hybrids of wild boars and domestic pigs, like the famous Hogzilla, truly capture the imagination. Specimens like these have been recorded with tusks up to 71 centimeters long, which is significantly above average. However, such sizes are rare, caused by exceptional environmental conditions and gene mixing. Large boars can be found in areas rich in food, where a diet high in proteins and minerals promotes their growth. Such places offer conditions that favor minimal competition and safe habitation, allowing boars to develop fully. The size of males usually ranges from 90 to 270 kilograms, rarely approaching 300 or more, especially in regions abundant in resources, such as Primary and Manchuria. Ecosystem changes also affect the survival of adapted individuals. And although selection and the survival of the fittest are often discussed, this process is complex and multifaceted. Naturalists and scientists will need to continue their research to better understand the factors influencing the formation of giant boars, and to discover what other amazing phenomena nature may yet reveal to us. To understand where the largest boars live, let us turn our attention to the dense forests of Europe, Asia, and certain parts of North Africa. These regions are true kingdoms for boars, having produced some of the largest representatives of this species. Boars naturally inhabit mixed and coniferous forests, as well as mountainous areas, where they find shelter and abundant food. Russia, with its vast expanses stretching from the Caucasus to southern Siberia, offers ideal habitats for these animals. Here, in harsh climatic conditions, only the strongest species survive. They not only adapt, but also reach impressive sizes in order to cope with the winter cold and limited resources. It is interesting to note that in Asia, large wild boars inhabit not only the mainland, but also the Kyushu and Shikoku archipelagos in Japan. These regions are known for their multi-climatic conditions, from temperate to subtropical, which allows wild boars to adapt and thrive. In America, wild boars are represented by introduced feral pigs in the southern United States. These are not quite the same forest giants typical of Europe and Asia, but they can also reach considerable sizes. These feral pigs were brought in and have successfully acclimatized, even though they are not native inhabitants. One way or another, each of these regions offers unique conditions that not only promote their growth, but also create variability in the size and characteristics of these amazing creatures. The question that remains is, what remarkable ecosystems and unusual conditions continue to give rise to such giants in other corners of our planet? Despite their impressive size and strength, wild boars do not hold an invincible position in the forest. In Eurasia, the main adversaries of wild boars are wolves, brown bears, and lynxes. Formidable wolves attack in packs, targeting young or weakened individuals since adult males, armed with long tusks, are capable of fighting back. These giants of the forest are far from defenseless victims. Bears on their own pose a serious threat to wild boars thanks to their strength and ability to approach unnoticed. With swift and precise attacks, bears are able to handle these forest giants. Lynxes, unlike bears, more often target piglets and young boars as they are unable to handle adult individuals. All these predators work together to maintain balance in the ecosystem. And although boars prefer dense thickets to avoid their enemies, it is not only wolves and bears that keep them on alert. In South Asia and the Far East, tigers and leopards are among the natural enemies of boars, adding an element of constant tension to their lives. It is important to remember that in Africa, where the landscape and conditions are unique, warthogs take on the role of boars and also face large predators such as lions and leopards. These adaptations and interactions in nature create a complex and thrilling picture of survival, where the strong and dangerous boar is by no means always at the top of the food chain. It is remarkable how each predator finds its own niche even when facing such formidable opponents, painting the natural world in the most unexpectedly vivid and intricate colors. In the myths and legends of many cultures, the boar is something more than just an ordinary animal. Across the realms of fairy tales and folklore, it becomes the embodiment of strength, bravery, and mystery. In Norse mythology, for example, there is a reason why the giant boar Sehrimnir is mentioned. This boar appears at the feast in Valhalla every evening, resurrecting each morning to once again feed the fallen warriors. Folkloric boars often acquire mystical traits in various cultures. Although Japanese legends do not mention a specific name, boars are still mystically connected to nature and magic. In Celtic tales, the boar is associated with warrior energy and fertility. Legends often speak of boars with gleaming tusks that shine in the night, or of the deadly force of their attacks. The image of the boar in Western mythology often conveys the idea of ferocity and power. Although there is no universal legend about demonic pigs, boars can be symbols of danger and demand respect from anyone who dares to confront them. The Erymanthian boar from Greek mythology is one such creature. The hero Heracles, by defeating it, demonstrated his strength and ingenuity. Mythological boars are also associated with national and cultural symbols, embodying both protection and threat. Their stories inspire the search for new discoveries in the world of the incredible and mysterious. But is it possible that these legendary creatures actually exist? What if somewhere in the dense forests a giant boar is hiding, ready at any moment to step out of the shadows and bring our ancient stories to life again? Imagine a woodland area where every step of a wild boar changes the world around it. These animals don't just roam the forest, they play the role of true ecosystem engineers. Boars, constantly loosening the soil in search of roots and insects, turn out to be important agents of change. They improve conditions for plant growth, helping the forest to however, the unattended harvest. That is why in some regions, boars are considered an invasive species, which requires strict population control. One should not forget about their unique social structure either. Females usually stay in herds with their offspring, while adult males live alone, except during the mating season. These facts make boars not only interesting from a biological perspective, but also important elements of ecosystem harmony, where positive and negative impacts are closely intertwined. All this complex dynamics surrounding boars creates a fascinating picture of nature, which may one day lead us to new discoveries in the world of wildlife. When we hear about the rapid increase in the boar population, it is hard to believe that these animals have managed to achieve such success. In fact, the key to their survival lies in their remarkable ability to adapt to their environment and to reproduce strategically. The rutting season for wild boars lasts from November to January, and its onset directly depends on the availability of food. With abundant harvests, it can start earlier, while in times of scarcity, it may be delayed or interrupted. This behavior allows wild boars to choose the right time for giving birth, ensuring more favorable conditions for their offspring. Female boars generally produce offspring only once a year. Each season, a litter usually consists of several piglets, which feed on milk for about 3 months. Although the young start trying solid food long before that, they do not become fully independent until they are a year old. Interestingly, females and young boars form large herds, which can number more than 30 individuals. These groups provide protection and increase the chances of survival for the offspring. Notably, adult males prefer solitude and join the herds only for a short period during the mating season, forming temporary harems, after which they once again leave the company of females. Although the overlap of habitats does indeed contribute to genetic diversification, it remains unclear exactly how this mechanism works in the case of wild boars. As a species, they demonstrate a remarkable ability to survive and adapt to environmental conditions. Nevertheless, the mystery remains. What exactly sustains the favorable conditions for this process? There are still many discoveries ahead that will reveal the unusual strategies of these remarkable creatures and their role-playing in diverse ecosystems, continuing to capture our imagination. But how these living machines continue to integrate into the surrounding world and influence human civilization is yet another intriguing chapter. Giant wild boars have long entered folklore as fearsome forest titans. However, reality does not always match the legends. Stories about boars as large as cars are an exaggeration. True forest giants rarely weigh more than 700 pounds, which is about 300 kilograms. Such cases are rare and are more likely to be considered unusual anomalies of nature. It is often said that wild boars have almost invulnerable skin. Their bodies are indeed covered with tough and thick skin, which protects them from predator attacks and harsh natural conditions. Nevertheless, their armor will not save them from firearms. Tough hide is not protection against bullets, and the myths about this are just a product of our imagination. The aggressiveness of wild boars is also often exaggerated in stories. Despite their imposing appearance and ability to drive away enemies, they generally prefer to avoid confrontations. If a boar feels threatened, especially when it comes to its offspring, it can become aggressive. Nevertheless, in most situations, these animals try to slip away and follow safe forest paths far from confrontation. Such myths only add a layer of mystery to these majestic creatures, but it is important not to lose sight of the fact that the true nature of wild boars is filled with an instinctive drive for preservation and self-preservation. How do our cultural perceptions of this forest dweller shape our view of nature and our role within it? This question leaves open horizons for seeking answers and new stories. The image of the wild boar has a rich and ambiguous history in medieval European culture. Among the Germanic and Celtic peoples, it was indeed associated with courage and belligerence, becoming a symbol of bravery on the battlefield. Nevertheless, with the advent of Christianity, the wild boar acquired darker connotations, becoming a symbol of the devil and of sins. It was associated with 6 of the 7 deadly sins, embodying diabolical cruelty and a wild nature that frightened peasants and church writers of the 14th and 15th centuries. In Celtic mythology, the wild boar also served as a guardian of the forest and the other world. The white boar, carrying heroes on a journey, symbolized the transition between worlds. This image found its reflection in European texts of the 12th and 13th centuries, which came through English and French sources inspired by Celtic legends. In Japanese culture, the boar is endowed with a different symbolism. It is considered the embodiment of courage and resilience. Its images are found in traditional art, and folk dolls depicting it are given as good luck charms. The boar holds a significant place in this folklore, symbolizing strength and bravery. Modern works of art have also not overlooked the boar. In film, literature, comics, and animation, the image of the boar retains its symbolism of inner strength, wild nature, and the spirit of struggle. This multi-layered image continues to inspire and amaze, remaining an eternal symbol of the greatness and mystery of nature, which should never be underestimated. It is fascinating how even contemporary artists find inspiration in it, conveying stories of resilience through its image, ready to bring them to the world's art stages. Humanity has always had a complex relationship with wild boars. These remarkable animals, which do not officially hold the status of giants, nevertheless attract attention with their size and behavior. The interaction between humans and boars in particular has a significant impact on their existence, ranging from agricultural issues to nature conservation. Surprisingly, boars find their own networks of opportunities in our farmlands, as their search for food drives them to migrate closer to human settlements, gracefully crossing the boundaries between the wild and agricultural lands. Fields abundant with crops and food waste become a true temptation, like a feast for these nocturnal connoisseurs who delight in their refined tastes. Hunting as a tool for population control holds a prominent place at the forefront of efforts to manage boar numbers. But there are nuances here. Effective management requires removing about 65% of the population annually, whereas in practice only 50% is achieved. Insufficient control leads to an unexpected increase in numbers, threatening the ecological balance. An interesting example is Tatarstan, where after an outbreak of African swine fever, the number of boars noticeably decreased. Hunting in 2023 was carried out with caution, demonstrating how careful management helps restore balance in populations. This experience draws on lessons that emphasize the need for a balanced approach. The genetic mixing of wild and domestic pigs is another point of concern. Although hybridization is indeed observed, there is no evidence that this process leads to an increase in the number of wild boars. It is more likely to affect the behavior and adaptation of wild boars. Human intervention can be both a threat and a salvation. The creation of reserves and protected areas provides safe conditions for wild boars, helping to preserve biodiversity. These efforts help create a future where wild boars are able to coexist with human civilization, continuing to captivate our imagination and inspire admiration with their remarkable adaptations. The question of how we will be able to regulate our relationship with these wild inhabitants remains open, inviting us to further exploration. Wild boars, known for their remarkable adaptability, are able to survive in a wide variety of environments, from forest and steppes to taiga regions. Their ability to change their behavior depending on their surroundings makes them almost invulnerable in the face of the modern world. Living in herds, they use collective intelligence to share information and protect one another, which makes them excellent social creatures where every member of the group plays a role. These pig-like inhabitants find themselves at the very center of human activity, as urbanization inevitably reduces their natural habitat. Despite this, wild boars find ways to adapt and survive, which is a true natural wonder. Protected areas around the world serve as shelters for them and lay the foundation for a future where these incredible creatures can thrive. Research into their behavior using technologies such as drones and GPS navigation helps scientists better understand their migration routes and habits. Strategies developed based on this data help not only to preserve their populations, but also to avoid both overpopulation and critical decline. The future of wild boars may seem uncertain, but their adaptability will undoubtedly ensure their survival if we take a sensible approach to managing their habitat. This approach includes both the creation of safe zones and the implementation of progressive conservation practices. Wild boars remain a part of nature that, as we can see, is full of amazing surprises and lessons. Their story of survival continues, and as landscapes change, these forest dwellers are sure to surprise us yet again.